Oh, right. Hello, 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 hello. So, not a lot of people, if anybody, seen my last live stream. It was very late at night, so I don't expect anybody to see it. What I was talking about at the time is whether or not I wanted to start my Splinter Cell playthrough. I am going to play all games from Pandora tomorrow, already all the way to Blacklist in consecutive order. I think I might end up doing creation reviews on YouTube and then switching over to Twitch to do the gameplay and all of that there. My channel, as stated, is primarily Rocket League. I've had Rocket League videos from way back, from when I was playing on PlayStation. And now I started adding in DVD creation reviews and things like that as kind of a side project. So I'd have two things going on for when I get burnt out of Rocket League. Things like that, I can just go into reviews and get down to the nitty gritty of some things. I am a reviewer by trade. I review lots of products, lots of different things. And I do a lot of things. I've been training a lot of things. I do a lot of things. I'm basically a jack of all trades. Well, technically a master of one. But beyond that, the agenda today is to go back to Dead by Daylight, go into the creation forum. I'm going to do a couple of reviews on that. I'm actually going to take my time because, as you can see, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then from there, I want to spend maybe a couple hours there. Then I'm going to transition over to Twitch. I will probably, well, if I remember, to add Twitch into the description and all of that for it's twitch.tv _QTASTIC is the Twitch name, but generally if you just search QTASTIC, it'll take you to wherever my channel is at that point. I don't think I've ever done anything on Twitch, honestly, because I remember on PlayStation it never really worked out. So it's a good start. Gaming is where Twitch really shines. Any games you play on there, you're going to get better views than YouTube. Unfortunately, that's a sad truth. And if I want to play an older game, YouTube people definitely aren't going to respond well to such an old game being played. Even though Chaos Theory, which is the second game after Pandora tomorrow, is free. So YouTubers might start picking it up or whatever. But like I said, I would rather have it on Twitch. There are websites that links Twitch and YouTube together so you can stream on both simultaneously. After this mini stream, I might look into it. I didn't have a chance last night to, but I don't know. I debated it. I'll see how hard it is to set up, and then I'll try to get back to you. But Twitch is a for sure thing. I'm going to stream on Twitch unless something catastrophic happens. So if you do step by this, oh, by the way, skip to 6 minutes if you don't want to hear any more mumbo jumbo. I will start when it says 6 minutes regardless. But Twitch is a for sure thing. I'm going to play every single Splinter Cell from Pandora Tomorrow to Blacklist. That's 5, I believe. And it's gonna take some time because I haven't played any of those. And I'd say 5 years. I ran through every single game back to back 5 years ago. And I don't remember. Well, I mean, I remember Chaos Theory. That was my childhood. And I remember Blacklist because I played it recently. But the rest is kind of just blanks. I don't remember them. But, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Is if I can't simultaneous view, it's going to be on Twitch. It's 100% going to be Twitch. And something else. So let's jump on into this. And see what we can do. So, oh, I don't remember them. Perfect. Alright. Creation Reviews. We have an entire page. Oh, the way down. Most are like map concepts and things like that, so it's not really a lot, but still something. On the second page, there isn't really anything here except for makings of a true monster. Which I guess I could jump into real quick just to kind of get it out of the way. He says he wants to shake things up and make a killer that is truly unique, etc., etc., things on that level. Killer power, amalgamation. Well, an amalgamation is not a power, it's an actual term to describe something. Which I guess it could be, it's not, well, I guess if you're calling something an amalgamation, like you're stating it, it's its name, but it's a noun. But generally, it would be an adjective, because you would be describing something, maybe a pronoun. Nah, that's not a pronoun. It's got to be an adjective. Adjective. But I mean, I guess it could be a noun, because you're calling the killer the amalgamation, which would make it a noun. Even though amalgamation is a term to describe something. Anyway, the killer is granted ultimate power by the entity itself. The shade can shift between 3 different forms. Well, the entity wouldn't give anything the ultimate power to start with. I understand you want to make this powerful being that shake things up, but the entity would never give anything an ultimate power. Killers are pulled to this realm. They are then bestowed things by the entity. And then they are allowed to do as they please. But every single killer already has, you know, a subtext or subbase of skills that are just enhanced. So, I mean, bestowing the power isn't necessarily something you want to put in the description, do the Dead by Daylight lore. I know you want to change things, but the entity's never going to bestow any type of ultimate power upon something. It just enhances whatever they're doing from the start. So, Assault Mode. The killer's form for speedy attacks. This form allows the killer to move at 115% movement speed to deliver hits. Isn't 115 movement speed just regular 4.6? I'm pretty sure. 115% of 4.6, or not 4.6, 4.0 is equal to 4.6. Yes. Why did you write this out this way? This allows the killer to move at 115% speed to deliver hits. It's literally regular movement speed. So, I mean, for the sake of... Actually, you know what? Just keep it the way it is. It's gotta look flushed out. Because, I mean, this is a very short edition. It's not very long. Shinlong, that's funny. This is by Internetti. I don't know. For you to say that you've been kicking around this concept for long, this is kind of short. It doesn't look like a huge amount of detail was added to this. You did kick the idea around power-wise and what powers would do and all of that, you know, the imagination side of things, but practicality and implementation, it doesn't seem like you took much time on that. And I mean, trying to capture your thoughts and trying to implement them into a subtext of, or subsystem of the game is hard. I've tried it. It's very hard. Because you have a set of guidelines that you must follow. So in assault mode, it would be the amalgamation's regular mode. It allows the killer to mark survivors as possessed when they fill their power gauge, similar to the Ghostface mechanic. The survivor that is marked for possession ends up switching places with the killer at the killer's command. So instead of just saying primary power, secondary power, tertiary power, or things like that, well, I guess would be your primary power, your secondary power, and your active ability of some sort. You just gave modes as like a cycling power. Ballista mode, the killer's form for range attack, allows the killer to fire an Orb of Darkness, that damage for a health state. Is stopped by walls and other obstructions, but when down by an Orb of Darkness, traps the survivors in a ball of darkness exactly where they were hit, and will continue to weaken them until death unless rescued. Similar to Pyramid's Head, Cage of Atonement. So it's a portable hook, is what you're saying. As soon as you down a survivor, they are put into stasis, because that's what that is. They're just going to be held in stasis by the orb, and they die if not saved. I don't know how I really feel about that. Because Pyramid Head's Cage of Atonement teleports to the opposite side of the map, so that the killer can't just camp or do anything like that. Because imagine a situation to where a survivor's going for an unhook on another survivor, and you hit them or catch them or something like that. Or you down one, then you turn and fire an orb at the other one. Or anything of those to where you can get two survivors down in one place. Or when I'm playing, the ability to get 4 survivors down in one place with Starstruck. The amount of value I get out of that's ridiculous. And imagine being able to orb a survivor and then hook another survivor right by each other. After that, I'm definitely just going to wait. So it's going to take 2 minutes for both of them to bleed out. And that 2 minutes, that's 120 seconds. That is essentially a gen and a half. If you take out the walk times and all of that between gens. Maybe a little bit more. but a gen and a half. That's going to be done at that time. So at the beginning of the game, if I take 2 and then camp, they're going to have 2 gens done. They're going to have 3 left. And I'm going to have 2 survivors gone. If I really want this victory, that's easy wins. Or you can put a survivor in stasis that's trying to body block or something like that. You know, the borrowed time where you hit them once, they fake the hook, you hit them, they pull their friend off, and then their friend takes the borrowed time hit. You hit their friend takes them off, you shoot them with the orb, then after 8 seconds you take their borrowed time person down, and then you carry them back to the hook, getting that camping situation. So essentially, the first time you hook a survivor, if you play this character right, you can absolutely get 2 survivors out at the beginning if you just camp. It is extremely strong. There has to be some caveat to where the person that's in the orb has to be X amount of distance, or it teleports them and then puts them in the stasis, or it has to have some sort of caveat to prevent that. Also, I'm not understanding these particular modes, because assault mode has a stalker type thing and a ghost face like mechanic, which is sort of like a stealthier mode or a trickier mode. Ballista mode has nothing to do with ballista. It literally just shoots an orb. And then camouflage mode. The killer's stealth form for spying allows the killer to traverse the map as a shadow, unseen, and can attack unless traveling in the shadows and doesn't have a tear radius. Has the power to employ shadow illusions up to the number of remaining survivors that are able to patrol the map and attack survivors that cross their path. Base speed is the same as survivors' walking speed. Can be destroyed by flashlights and pallets in the killer themselves. Shifting forms have a 2-minute cooldown, while powers used either form have 30-second cooldown. Marking a survivor as possessed takes about 5 seconds to fill the gauge. And this is literally ripped off of your other changeling. That is the power ripped off of them, added into another mode. 1. Killer's called the amalgamation. An amalgamation, yes, some amalgamations do have the properties of shapeshifters and things like that. But the thing about amalgamations are they are generally hideous, aberrant, just mounds of just flesh and other organic material. Or they're bestial forms that have been mangled and things like that. But none of them are actually have the inherent ability of stealth. Amalgamations generally don't have a great sense of control and what they're doing, because they have just a whole bunch of different parts and everything making them are combined into one thing. So I mean so I'm gonna assume this amalgamation starts off in assault mode. You have a stalking killer that can mark players. After they mark players, they can switch places with that particular survivor anytime they want. 30-second cooldown, of course. So at the beginning, you can mark a survivor, look at them, look at them, look at them. They go to work on a gen with a friend, and then bam, you switch locations. It's going to have to be some sort of animation, so it's probably going to be like, I don't know, let's just say flesh tentacles come out of the ground, grab a survivor, and pull them under. and then you pop up where the survivor is. One, there needs to be more information saying how long this animation, or what kind of animation is going to be, for one, how long the animation takes to actually happen. You know, how long does it take to actually teleport in between and the survivor moving and everything like that. Also, I wouldn't let the survivor itself teleport to exactly where the killer was. Because, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from, I don't know, chasing a survivor. They run the kill shack. You just jump down into the basement and then use your power. And now they're teleported in the basement and you're teleported somewhere around shack. And now they have to try to run out of basement and you just slap them back down. So people are going to get basement dumped a lot. They're going to lure you to kill shack. They're going to get that timer in. They're going to sack dump you in the basement and they're going to slap you. And it's going to be absolutely bad experience for everybody. And if basement's in main building, that's even worse. So when you want to have something like that, the orb should take them someplace and drop them off. Generally, you'll want to do it not exactly like Pyramid Heads, because this is not an alternative killer like Pyramid Head. This is something completely separate. So, I mean, you're going to have to incorporate this to not be just a second Cage of Atonement, but you're going to have to make it to where it's different. And that's just talking about this. I haven't even actually got to the thing that's like Cage of Atonement. This is just the assault mode of teleporting back and forth. Also, needs to be stated, can I teleport a survivor if they're in the down state? Because the way this says, I can switch places and anytime. So, I mean, at the end of the game, if they're on the ground crawling towards Vent or something like that, I don't even need to find them. As long as they're marked, I can just go on in, hit the button, teleport them over to a specific area where I know Hatch isn't, then walk over and grab them. I need to know your system of swapping. Can I only mark one survivor at a time to keep it basic and simple? Or is it on another leaf? Do I have to have some way to cycle between survivors if I have multiple people marked at the same time? How am I going to cycle between them? How am I going to choose which one I'm going after? So I don't agree with a survivor being teleported just exactly where the killer is. That means they're going to have to write another overlay for the terrain. And they're going to have to write coding and programming and everything else on each individual map in every spot. And then they're going to have to set out boundaries and layers and everything like that to ensure, which means a lot of testing, to ensure that this teleportation thing can happen between the two. Just that simple thing right there is going to require so much work that it's almost not even worth it, especially if it's not for like a contract and they're making a significant amount of money per this killer. I'm pretty sure I said something like this on the Changeling video that I did too. I think it was a live stream. It sounds like it's a decent idea, but in actual implementation, it's a nightmare. It's going to take, if they have a very small development group, it'll take them at least 6 months to get everything done. Heck, even with Epic backing them and they pulled some of the designers and things like that from them, it's going to take a long amount of time to implement this killer. That's it. That's just one perk. It's going to take about 6 months of testing, implementation, code writing, etc., to do. You and I have been talking about just the killer's body being made and all of these other orbs and everything else that you're trying to implement. And it's probably going to want to have a map and a whole bunch of other things and lore and all. Like, you're talking around about a year to get everything implemented properly. That's a small dev team. If they have a fairly large dev team, they might be able to get it all done in about half the time. Or if they have previous templates or something like that. They're obviously going to cut corners. So it's not going to be this flushed out, amazing looking thing, because they're going to try to keep the original gameplay going and keep the core mechanics as unchanged as possible. Because if you have to write another layer and you have to change things up and rewrite codes on specific objects to get them all connecting and flowing properly with each other, there's going to be glitches. People are going to find new glitches. People are going to be able to get out of the map and do all kinds of other crazy things. It's going to be an absolute pain. So the assault mode, even though it's not really an assault mode, that'll be probably the mode that you start off in. You just regularly move at regular killer speed, and it gives you the ability to mark. I'd say to make this simpler, I wouldn't call it assault mode, I'd call it more like pursuer mode. I would change that, and I would just make it to where this particular killer can mark a survivor, then teleport to said survivor. Just let them be able to teleport to that survivor at their command. All they have to do is rewrite Pinhead's code when somebody has the box. That's it. That's all they gotta do. Instead of opening the box, they'll just be able to teleport to said survivor. Like a triggered hag trap, or Pinhead box or something like that, or Freddy get into a gin or something like that, but it'd be a survivor. Boom. Easy fix to this. Pursuer mode, use whatever's in the game that's already available. It's a brand new mechanic. It's a very good mechanic. It allows you to get to a survivor that you've looked at. So if a survivor's just running lottie-dottie across the map to get an unhook, you can finish the pursuit or the chase that you're in, and then you can teleport over to that hook and deal with that survivor in that situation. Gives you a lot of movement. Ballista mode has nothing to do with ballistas. Nothing. You are shooting what is essentially an orb of darkness or magic or some sort of essence. It has nothing to do with ballistas. It doesn't even say anything about being stuck in place. It doesn't say how long it takes to channel ball. It doesn't say how long it takes to shoot ball. It doesn't say how fast it goes. It doesn't say its range. It says absolutely nothing about this particular mode. And anybody that tunes in, I'm going to just straight up say this is going to be a lot more of a brutal, just outright, I guess some people may see it as disrespectful because of the way that I'm attacking things, but instead of beating around the bush like I generally do and extend things out for 8 hours like I'm kind of doing now, I'm gonna go more directly to the point, because what I'm finding is when I try to explain things thoroughly, break down every single methodology and thing like that and say each and everything that's wrong about things, people tend to just turn their brains off. And then when I get done, turn them on and say thanks. And then immediately do the same thing that they were originally doing. So I'm just going to come in fast, kind of slap the term around a little bit and then leave it to recover on its own. People are going to feel more insulted about it, but at least I'm going to have their attention for longer. The Orb of Darkness is like a portable hook, which I said that before. Said the problem is you can camp with it, etc., etc. You need to implement this to be, again, similar to like the Pyramid's Head's Cage of Atonement, but it can't be the same, or you're just copying something. I don't know why an amalgamation would have access to Orbs of Darkness and things like that. I mean, some do per lore, but, you know, it is what it is. Camouflage Mode was pulled from another idea of concept, so I'm not going to go over this for long. It was changed and explained to me how the changelings effect work, but how it's re-implemented here is kind of shaky when it comes to amalgamation wise and things like that. It allows the killer to transverse the map as a shadow. And I'm gonna say it's sort of like the Wraith, where you got a lot of speed and things like that. You can't be seen, you can't attack, you don't have a tear radius. Sort of like the Wraith, except for the Wraith can actually perform a power while inside of the stealth mode. And that being is the ability to employ shadows. One per survivor. 4 survivors, you can boom boom boom, put down 4 shadows. They then patrol the map and attack survivors that cross their path. I don't remember if they're like the ravens that the artists have, or if they're like zombies that Nemesis have. I do not remember. Either way, that's the 2 typical problems you're going to run into. The base speed is the same as the survivor walking speed, so they are slow, and they can be destroyed by flashlight pallets and the killers themselves. Again, the problem you're going to have with that is, well, you know they're not like the birds and anything like that, unless they're like super slow, but they're like zombies, essentially. Very, very, very slow zombies. So from there, you have an assault mode that's a mix of Ghostface and Hag. A ballista mode that's like Pyramid Head's Cage of Atonement. And a camouflage mode that's Wraith but buffed. 3 different killers' powers edited to be a little bit better and then implemented into one beast. So if I was to look at you and I was to say, what makes the amalgamation unique? What makes it different from other killers? What makes it super unique and lets it able to be implemented into the game without people just saying, you know, oh, well, this is just that, or this is just that. What makes people say, well, this is cool and I want to play this killer, and I want to potentially pay money to play this killer. So right now, the only thing you can say is you can change places with Survivor, which that's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time to implement. He can create a ball that's essentially a hook, just a portable hook. So you no longer have to really worry about anything like that or not getting to a hook in time when you can just bam and hook them up and keep going. And then the camouflage mode. He can go invisible, move fairly quick, and then summon things that he can sit down to patrol areas. Also, camouflage mode, you don't state anything about the time it takes to channel, where you can summon them, because I mean, if I can go invisible and they have no idea, like they can't see me at all, There's no shadow, there's no anything. Because it says unseen. So there's no nothing, no shimmer, no nothing. I could just walk behind a survivor, summon one of my shadows, and then they could immediately just slap down survivors. There's no need for me to ever come into effect. Which, I mean, something like that wouldn't be that bad if you based your entire character around it. You named it like the Shimmer, and survivors cannot interact with you as a killer, but they can interact with your creations. It's going to be very difficult to implement because you as a killer can't really do anything, or at least until you're not invisible. But I mean, it'd be an alternative killer for Wraith, that he uses his power and gets his power while he's invisible, as opposed to Wraith has to come out of invisibility to deal damage. Be an interesting concept. You never know when the killer's nearby you. Maybe he has an Orb of Darkness that he can use once every so and so, or token wise, or some sort of power wise that you can use. Then teleportation and things like that would be pretty cool too. But as it sits now, it's just a whole bunch of different killers jammed into one. The abilities are buffed, and then it's sent out. Killer perks. Let's see. Entities isolation. You are obsessed with one survivor. The obsession starts... What? The obsession starts the make away from any other survivor and is broken and exhausted for 60 seconds. What? The obsession starts the make away from any other survivor and is broken and exhausted. I don't understand. You are obsessed with one survivor. The entity has chosen you to be the recipient of torture. When the obsession starts to walk away from any other survivor, they become broken and exhausted for 60 seconds. Since it's isolation, gotcha. So what you're trying to implement is a penalty for the obsession to get near any other survivors. They get the broken status effect and exhaustion status effect for 60 seconds. 1. What's the range? How close do you need to be before this perk activates? 2. Does it continuously activate? What's the cooldown on it? I mean, is it fine? Or is it in effect that activates as long as you're near another survivor, and when you walk away, it activates? Or, starts to drop down its timer? Or can I just activate it while working on a generator with another survivor, and by the time that's done, I'm already not exhausted or anything anymore? So is it a one-time, or is it persistent until you break range, or... I don't know. It needs to be further defined and clarified as to what you're exactly trying to do with this perk. It's kind of interesting. I don't know about an entire minute, because I mean, if I'm working on a generator and a survivor just so happens to run by me, I don't think I should be exposed for 60 seconds, because killer's just gonna stop, slap me, because they're gonna know, in most cases, everybody generally picks different characters. So they're gonna know exactly who they're looking for due to character portrait. And as soon as they see that person, they're gonna slap them. Especially if another survivor is anywhere nearby. So, I mean, 60 seconds kind of harsh for something you don't really have control over. There's 3 other survivors running around a particular map. Keep in mind that range-wise goes up, down, left, right, and in between layers. So if you're playing Midwich, you're essentially going to be exposed and exhausted the entirety of the map, because you're always going to be near another survivor, and it's going to keep proccing. So that's also why cooldowns are very important here. Exit gate wise, when you're trying to escape out of an exit gate, you're going to become exhausted and broken. Meaning if somebody ain't covering you, you're going to go down in one hit trying to exit. Survivors stand at exits and they make sure everybody gets to the exit before they leave. Regular survivor play. Killer mains don't understand this because they rarely play survivor. Well, some killer mains, you know, they think they're just standing there being toxic and teabagging. Like, no. One, they're teabagging and pointing, trying to get your attention and trying to make you waste time and hitting them. Because the time that you're spending hitting them, you can't hit anybody else that's trying to escape. That's why they stay and they taunt you and do things like that. If it's the last person of a trial, sometimes they're saying goodbye, sometimes they're saying, hey, we beat you, or I beat you, and they're just trying to get that little bit of satisfaction before they go. Everybody does it. And you shouldn't be a sore loser because it's happening to you. You're going to be taunted. Anytime you play anything that's competitive, there's going to be smack talking, there's going to be taunting, there's going to be we are the champions and things like that. Before you step into a competitive situation, you have to understand that. If that offends you in any way, then you shouldn't play competitive games. Because no matter what competitive game you have, there's going to be that. Unless you have your own small community. But I mean, somebody's generally going to talk smack and, you know, taunt you and do things like that. It's good tactics. I would decrease the exhaustion status effect and I would add a cooldown to this. It's a decent perk and a decent idea that if you're the obsession, which generally people make themselves the obsession by running, you know, decisive or some other perk like that, they're inflicting this penalty upon themselves. Or if you just get a bad roll and nobody's using any perks like that, somebody has to take it, you know. That's fine. It's one survivor. 60 seconds, though, I don't agree with. Especially giving them the exhausted status effect on top of that for that 60 seconds. So not only can you not use any type of perks or anything to escape, you also go down in one hit. That's why I don't like the 60-second timer. You really want to severely decrease that, because it's going to trigger a lot. There needs to be a higher cooldown on it too, so this particular person who is the obsession can go and assist other survivors on generators, you know, towards the end of the game or even towards the beginning of the game. So this is going to have to be hard balanced. And once it gets hard balanced and is further explained to what you're trying to implement and how you're trying to implement, then it needs to go to public test beta to be completely balanced to make sure it's implemented fair. Overwhelm. You exist as an agent of chaos and misery to others' blessings. Blessed totems are rendered useless while within your terror radius. While within the terror radius, survivors cannot use the abilities of any blessed totem. Also, totems that are snuffed cannot be relit for the next 60 seconds. I like that until you put within your terror radius. The reason why is because if somebody's running, let's say, Legion has an add-on to make terror radius the entire map. So anytime they're using Feral Frenzy, the entire radius is going to be the entire map, meaning all totems for that general time are going to be useless. Same with me and my doctor build. I have an extremely large tear radius. So, I mean, when I'm on one side of the map, every totem on that side of the map is going to be absolutely positively useless. Which for the most part isn't that big of a deal, except when you come towards the end game, or if you're downing survivors and things like that. My tear radius goes a very, very long amount of time. Then on the other side of that, when I'm running Ghostface, I get no benefit out of this particular perk unless I'm out of stealth mode, which lets survivors know where I'm at. I'm a stealth killer. If I'm running Wraith or Ghostface or crouching with Pig or doing any type of sneaking, which is generally slow except for Wraith, heck, even Spirit, you're not getting any value out of this. So there's some killers that just doesn't click with that much. So, I mean, I like what you're doing, but you should leave it to a particular distance. And if anything on Overwhelm, I would increase the distance using the tier system as opposed to going 50, 55, then 60 seconds. Just pick a random number, make it 60 seconds or something like that, and then make the range at which you can be affected by, adjust that with the tiers up in the particular perk. That makes more sense. Instead of having a 10-second variant. It works on the top, sort of, for cooldowns and things like that, or how long you're being affected by something, but when it comes to a cooldown on blessing a totem, it doesn't matter. It doesn't directly affect the survivor or directly affect the game in any way, to be honest with you. So I would just pick a specific number there. Make the distances in which that's effective being the tier system with Overwhelm, and then sending it that way. I like the design of the perks. I like the first perk. I like the second perk. It completely lets you nullify something that's been added to the game. And with the addition of the apparent, what's it called? Boon Exponential, which is technically unbreakable, but on a boon token, and Circle of Healing and things like that, I mean, it'd be great to be able to down people and continue to play the game like it was before without having to worry about somebody getting up due to just a totem being put down somewhere. So I like both perks. They probably won't be used that often except we're on specific killers, but yeah, definitely. Then we have a Hex perk, False Hope. You love nothing more than snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. When 5 generators are powered, and there are 2 or more adult totems remaining, then 3 generators will instantly break down, and survivors will have to power the final generator to power the exit gates. What is with people nowadays and trying to affect already completed generators? Once 5 gens are powered, the exit gates are powered, and it's time to escape. There is no changing that particular mechanic of the game. You cannot add in another generator. You can't decrease an already done generator or anything like that without causing major issues and major anger. There's a reason why, to this day, behavior hasn't implemented anything that decreases already done generators. The game is tight enough as is. If you don't have a lot of hours in the game, I understand that you think that the game Survivor sided and they complete gens so fast and how it can be a little bit daunting of a task for you to get these kills. Behavior has went back through and added in a ranking system based off the emblems and things that you do during the match. You no longer have to get the 4 kill to get any type of rank up. You don't need it. If you get a 3-piece and a hatch escape, that's fine. If you get a 3-piece and a door escape, that's completely fine. You're still gonna rank up, or at least maintain your rank at the most part, even if you do that. It's not that big of a concern anymore. People just, for whatever reason, think if I don't kill all 4 survivors, I'm not good at the game. The game's survivor based. It's BS, etc., etc. Like, no. The point is just to cause as much pain and get as much sacrifices as possible. All the entity requires out of you is sacrifices. As long as you get any type of sacrifice, the words at the end of the game, brutal killer, ruthless killer, things like that change. It's only when you don't get any sacrifices that you get, entity displeased. That's the only negative, is when you get no sacrifices. Everybody needs to get off of the matchmaking ranking system, or the skill-based matchmaking that they implemented's trash and all this other crap. It's like, no. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. People just expect that, well, I'm iridescent, I'm going to get all iridescent killers, everybody in this match is going to be iridescent. That's not what it's matched to when it says skill-based matchmaking. It's taking a balance, and it's giving, let's say, an average Joe killer an advanced player, probably, 2 medium players, and then a crappy player, generally. Sometimes, all of that shifts, and you'll get all crappy players, or you'll get, different variants based off the level of your killer. That's skill-based matchmaking. It's not based off your rank. It's based off skill. It wants an average of all the individuals inside of this specific match. Not all iridescent players play together, all gold players play together, all silver players play. Like, no. You know how long it takes to matchmake everything as you see it now. You can wait 10 to 20 minutes to find the game. If all iridescent people played together, it would be like, unfortunately, I have to throw Rocket League out there, to where when you're at SSL, you play the same people every day. When you're in Grand Champion, you play the same people every day. Heck, when you get into Champion, technically, you'll have more people to play with, but you'll end up playing the same people quite often. When you're in Diamond, which is the casual level now, that's when you have all a bunch of variants and different people to play with, and etc., etc. Instead of being like Rocket League, where you get on and you're like, well, I'm facing Jim today. Oh, here's Bob playing his usual meta build, and here's this and there's that, and there's no variance and no fun, because you know exactly who you're going to go up against, because they use the same killers every time. It's not fun, so they mix it up. You'll have a rank 1 killer with like 2 iridescent players, maybe a gold and then a silver, to just keep things mixed up. You're facing different people every time. Well, not every time, but most of the time, majority of the time, you'll be facing different people, different combinations. It also allows parties, Survive with Friends parties, to play together, because they can find a killer that is averaged around that particular area, and then implement that into a game. Rocket League wise, I mean, if it's casual, it does a decent job, you know, if nobody's smurfing or intentionally lowering their rank or anything like that. A decent job in matchmaking. Rank wise, they have rank disparities now in Rocket League, and you know, you can only play with anybody that's like a division down. If you're Diamond 3, you can play with Champ 3, or you can play with Plat 3, either up or either down. But you can't go any lower, you can't go any higher. Very good, but you know, it is what it is. But back to False Hope, you cannot hurt an already completed generator. You can't unpower an already powered exit gate. um, hmm, how's about, and this is just a suggestion, I mean, it's going to have to be changed regardless, but how's about at the end of the game, since you want to have this overpowered hex perk, which probably won't be implemented the way I'm putting it either, but this is just another rendition of this particular perk. It's still OP in the way I'm saying it's going to be unbalanced, but, you know, after the exit gates are powered, or after all gens are done, one random hex totem lights up. Or you can even use that if there's 2 or more dual totems remaining. One of the 2 lights up. And as long as that totem's lit up, exit gates are blocked or something like that. For like, I don't know. Well, now that would be Trickster's perk. So exits would be Blood Warden, but a little bit better. I don't know. Something particular's blocked. Let's say the power to the exit gates are blocked as long as there's 2 or more totems left in the match. So it doesn't allow the killer to get NOAD or anything like that, or any in-game perk activations. So they can't just run around taking things out. But it also stops survivors from escaping. So after 5 generators are done, instead of the exit gates getting powered, the power is diverted to a hex totem, which lights up. As long as the hex totem's lit, the exit gates cannot be powered, or cannot be open, either or, whatever the terminology you want to use is. That's still OP, and definitely needs to have a time limit or a balance or something on it for it to automatically break, because finding totems is a pain sometimes if it's well hidden. But I mean, something like that is like an in-game staller. It stops NOAD, you know, Blood Warden, the Trickster's perks and all of that from activating, so you don't get those bonuses, but survivors also cannot leave until they complete a specific action. Well, there you go. This will never happen, but your idea is the ultimate hybrid killer. Ghostface and Plague's mark, Nurse and Freddy's ability to teleport, Deathslinger's shooting mechanic, Pyramid Head's unique hooks, Wraith stealth and speed, and Nemesis's zombies. So there you go. I'm actually gonna upvote that because he just simplified everything that I just said. And there you go. Swap that over. And that, unfortunately, is why you will probably never see an idea like this implemented as it sees fit. It's just a hybrid killer. I understand where you're coming from, throwing the game up on its heads and things like that, and kind of creating a, let's say, mid-boss. I'm going to use the term mid-boss into the game. Or, yeah, mid-boss is generally what you call them. Or a bigger boss, you know, but a mid-boss. Head killer, something like that. Then you can take this amalgamation, who's a mid-boss, and then you can give him, you know, a couple of years down the road, a second form. A couple of years down the road, a final form. Then a couple of years down the road, when the game, you know, is coming to a conclusion, you can turn this abomination into the entity itself. You know, have the entity actually be a killer, then towards the end implement it as the entity. And then end the game like that. Put an ending in it, you know, make it all cool. By that time, hopefully this game will finally get an actual story mode. And you'll be able to see survivors actually escaping for once, as opposed to just endlessly trapped. But who knows what the future may hold. It's the makings of a true monster. Now, it's starting to get close to where I would want to start playing Splinter Cell. I am very, very tired, but I do have energy drinks, so I'm probably going to be slurping as we play. Wasn't planning on waking up for another, like, 5 hours and jumping on early to cover everything, but, you know, as always, woke up early, interrupted, etc., etc. Next killer concept, and probably the last one I'm going to do, because I did spend an hour, which, I mean, this is what I was trying to spend, is about an hour per concept, if not both in an hour. Feel as though I've seen this before. Okay. New killer concept. The Scourge. I thought it said the Scrooge for a second, and I was like, I mean, it is Christmas. That's where I've seen it before. It was the Swarm, and he changed the Swarm to the Scourge. Gotcha. I have looked into the Swarm before. I don't know if I actually did an official thing on this. Like, I don't think I actually did this on stream, so I might just go over it again and send it. We'll go over it semi-quickly. Scourge. Short killer. Regular speed. Regular tear radius. Power is pestilence. The Scourge can release a wave of wasps that stings survivors in front of him in a 35-degree arc up to 11 meters away. While being stunned, survivors scream intermittently and can also not repair generator, cleanse totems, hide in lockers, or leave through exit gates. Stinging lasts for 12 seconds. Survivors are inflicted with exhaustion and hindered for the full duration of the stinging, with hindered decreasing movement speed by 10%. On a survivor, that makes your movement speed 3.6 meters per second. Pestilence takes 4 seconds to charge up and can be held before casting. It also has a cooldown of 9 seconds. So Pestilence, you send out Wasp in a 35-degree angle, which I don't know why you didn't just hit the full 40 to make it just a complete right angle. But if you think of a right angle, it's 10 degrees off of that. Very wide. Very, very wide. And then 11 meters away. I hope you guys know distance because I don't have anything to really measure what 11 meters away would be. It's such an awkward number that there's not anything that I can say to give you any type of range of that. Guess it's around the doctor's blast range, sort of. So being stung, aka the same way the artist swarms and things like that, you can't do anything. Stinging lasts for 12 seconds. The obvious thing. Now, to be fair, before people get angry and start saying that this is a ripoff of the artist, I have seen this concept before. This came out before the artist was ever a thing. At least before it was publicly announced. So don't be like, oh, well, this is just the artist or anything like this. This person's concept's been around for a long time. It's been edited and brought, to life for a long time. Don't dump on him because it's similar to the artist. If anything, the devs might have looked at his concept and then added it to the artist. It's kind of an ode for, keeping up with your concept for so long. But it's crows. This is what this is. It's the same as the crows, but they're bees instead. Scorch Perks. After hitting a survivor with a basic attack, you gain the ability to drop pallets and break doors 80% faster for 12 seconds. Not bad. If you slap a survivor and they immediately drop a pallet after being hit, which you don't want to do, by the way, don't waste pallets. You can penalize them by breaking that pallet ridiculously quick. Brutal Strength, I believe, is a 50% increase, which is 1.5 seconds. So, you're going to be looking at really, really low. Really, really low. Scourge Hook, Fatal Error. When a survivor is unhooked from a hook, every time they fail a skill check, the aura will be revealed for 8 seconds. Additionally, every failed generated skill check will cause additional regress by 13%. Well, New Killer kind of stops that. But if you run this with Huntress's Lullaby, it's going to be absolutely disgusting. Obvious problem here is there's no sort of timer or anything like this. If you're going to run something like this and put it on a Scourge Hook, there's going to have to be a timer incorporated with it. Even if you want to run it as a Hex Totem, there's going to have to be a hard upper limit on timer or something like that, or this perk's going to have to be generally nerfed. Now, if you want to nerf and cause, an extra, 5% regression penalty on top of that, then, possibly. Actually, I wouldn't even say a specific percentage. I would say a failed skill check causes 100% additional regression. That way it can stack with a multitude of perks, and the more perks you run, that adds more regression to the time that you miss the skill check. You can actually go higher and or lower. I wouldn't even run particular percents. Also, you have second scaling, and then you have percentages scaling. Percentages and second scaling. Generally, you only want one of those scaling. You'll have to define something. In this case, I would just make it 60, 70, 80, and leave it to 8 seconds. And I really wouldn't even use 8 seconds, because the only time this is actually going to have any type of effect is if you slap a survivor and then they immediately drop pallet. There's 2 second, 3 second delay on top of that, and then time to get to the pallet itself. So I guess 8 seconds is good enough. Also, put a cool on this, because survivors that panic and drop pallets upon pallets upon pallets, you shouldn't get that speed boost to break all pallets that quickly. You need to add that too. Needs cooldown. All of these probably need cooldowns. This needs a cooldown. So if they keep missing skill checks due to Huntress's lullaby, they're not literally going negative distance. It's 13%, 13 seconds. You'll generally get a skill check within that, and if you keep resetting yourself, you're going to tilt off the face of the planet. The orb reveal thing is no-go. If you want to regress generator by a decent amount, the aura thing cannot be part of that at all. And this needs to be nerfed regardless of how you want to implement this. Because I mean, 13% generator regression rate is the same as the artist's new, throw on hook regression penalty to the highest generator. Is it Pyramid Head? No, I think Pyramid Head blocks, right? Pyramid Head blocks, the artist regresses. Or vice versa, whichever one it is. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know I said, the artist came out after this particular concept, etc., etc., but I mean, this has basically been rebalanced and added to the artist in a more usable fashion. They essentially took this idea, and remember what I said, take the idea apart, change it up a little bit, then re-implement it into a way that's not similar to the main idea. This is an example. If you pull a survivor from a Scourge hook and they miss skill checks, you see their aura, and the generator regresses by 13%. They took it apart to when you hook a survivor, the most worked on generator regresses by an immediate 13%. That's what I'm talking about. They took this idea and concept here, they took it apart, they changed it, they put it together into their own unique concept. It's how copyright laws work. If you want a generic product, you do the same thing, but you make it a little bit different, and then you can sell it as your own product. Completely legal. Malnourished, you have way too much wording here. Every survivor item is negatively affected by this part. Flashlight batteries go down. Repair kits slow down the repair speed. Med kits slow down. So it's all about speeds or duration. Slightly less inaccurate information on maps. Keys require a certain amount of uses to open a hatch. That makes no sense, but okay. Oh, okay. 2, 3, or 4 uses to opens. You should just extend the amount of time. And Firecracker will have a chance to fail. Well, that's obviously not going to happen. You can make it go off later, like Flashbang. But no. You can't just make an item fail, especially a super rare event style item. You can't make that fail. That's something that they added in as sort of a hurrah to survivors. That would be just a huge troll. That's like an April Fool's thing. So malnourished generally reduces items effectiveness by, and then you need to just put a number on it. But I mean, you have like, was it overwhelming presence or whatever it's called? That as long as you're in the terror radius, your item rate consumption it goes up. So I mean, malnourished, you're gonna have to go through and change all of this, because this is a lot of text. You know how hard it is gonna be to put all of this into the game and make it look nice, because it's fine sitting here, but imagine this in that small little text box that they give you for perks. That's going to look absolutely ridiculous. I would drop this, redo it, re-implement it, rechange it, and try to make things better. I would also point you towards the Dead by Daylight perks, so you can not make it like any other type of perk that's already out there. Please stop. Sound check. But it's better. So point you toward. I'm being trolled. Jabari said perks. So Jabari's really? That's what you're gonna. Never mind. Never mind. Survivor perks. Hook, line, and sinker. After being chased for 20 seconds, hook, line, and sinker activate. So that's a guarantee activation for the remaining duration of the chase. If you stun the killer, you will gain the haste effect for 5 seconds. This perk has a cooldown of 50 seconds. Again, you need to stop doing these dual. Oh, this is a triple in this one. Tier ups. You have one thing, then you add the haste effect, which will be the same, the amount of seconds, and the cooldown. You only can change one thing per tier up system if it's a regular perk. You don't need to have all of these different variables changing. It's going to make the perk very confusing to use at the first time, and then when you're leveling up, you're going to have to look at a whole bunch of different things. It also makes this go out extremely long and makes it a big read when it's not something too particularly important. When being in chase for, I would honestly say 30 seconds, because hook, line, and sinker should be used to help you escape towards the end of a chase. 20 seconds is more than enough time to run a loop, drop a pallet, and then escape. There's also other perks that if you pallet stun a killer, things like that, unique things happen. AKA a sprint burst, you get a sprint burst, etc., etc., which is 15%. So what you're essentially making is a long, drawn-out, and nerfed version of a perk that already potentially exists. I don't remember what the name of it was. I think it was called Smash Hit. Yeah, that's the name of it. I think it's called Smash Hit. Did I actually remember something from yesterday? Smash Hit. Yep. After stunning the killer with a pallet, break into a sprint at 150% of your running normal speed for 4 seconds, and it causes exhaustion. Telling you, man. I'm in it now. This is Smash Hit. It doesn't exhaust you, though. And that's one of the main issues that I have with this perk. So, hook, line, and sinker is Smash Hit. That's enough said right there. I would take this entire perk, rewrite it to do something else. Especially if it's called hook, line, and sinker. It seems like it would be more of a distraction style perk. Because, like, I don't know, give it the ability to fake a pallet slam or something like that. Or, juke a pallet slam. To where the killer, might walk into it or something. I don't know. Add in, like, a deception effect to the pallet. Getaway. If you're being carried by the killer near a locker, you can choose to enter it, stunning the killer for 5 seconds. This perk has a cooldown and inflicts exhaustion. You have essentially just made Power Struggle, but it's affected by lockers. Being affected by lockers, unfortunately, is not a good way to implement this because, well, one, you have to say how close you have to be in locker. You have to explain that. So you're going to need a long explanation on how long it takes to enter a locker, the stun and all of that, how that happens. It does cause exhaustion, so you can't just head-on rush right after that. Stunning the killer for 5 seconds, you have to think, if you're jumping off killer's shoulder into a locker, and then jumping back out of the locker, that's going to take a significant amount of time. So anybody using the perk at 3 seconds isn't going to really get any type of time out of that. The 5 seconds, you'll get maybe 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds worth of value. The problem I have with that is, I mean, it's just Power Struggle, but it has to deal with a locker. I mean, there's things like Smash Hit that's like live and Sprint Burst and things like that, which is fine. But locker-wise, some hooks are right next to lockers. Like if you're playing the Plagues map and you're trying to get to some of these hooks, you have to pass by a locker, and they'll just insta-gib you every time. When it's pallet-wise with Power Struggle, pallets are generally in areas to where, you know, killer can walk around them if need be, things of that nature. They don't directly interfere with the killer getting to a hook. Now, if the killer wants to go for a riskier hook through a pallet and gets pallet struggled, like in Gideon Meat Plant, the double pallets by basement, if killer tries to get greedy instead of using the hook that's right by bathroom, or on the other side, that's their fault. They're trying to be greedy and get that basement hook. I mean, it drops a very good pallet for them, though, so, I mean, it's a good exchange. But if I pick somebody up, again, in the bathroom and Gideon Meat Plant, you almost have to pass by that locker there to get out. There's other hooks on that particular map. Midwich, there's lockers all along the hallway and things like that you have to pass by. I mean, there's lockers everywhere on the way to and from hooks. And that's going to cause a problem. I mean, even in basement, there's technically lockers right there. Depending on, you know, how close the killer has to get. Because, I mean, no killer is going to be, like, basically touching lockers. Because they're going to be going towards hooks. So it's going to have a specific range set to it. But I mean, you know, if I'm a trapper and I put a trap down at the end of the steps and I have to walk around that trap to get through, I don't want to be insta-gibbed by somebody jumping into a locker. So, I mean, Getaway working on lockers, there's a reason why there isn't an escape perk associated with lockers. Also, Getaway will interfere with deception more likely than not. So, I mean, you're there about locker-wise or something like that, but I would make it possibly to be able to, I don't know, go off of, you know, somebody else's idea and find a way to, like, rig a locker or something like that, to where if a killer walks you near it, you can then explode something like a flashbang out of a locker and stun killer, or something more unique than just hopping in a locker from killer's shoulders. That is a perk stolen from somebody else, so I mean, you're probably going to want to change that up a little bit, but it's just an idea of implementation. Bloodshot eyes. When a killer hits you with any attack, their vision gets obscured by blood. but with far more than the normal splatter effect. The splatter lasts 6 seconds. When a killer hits you with any attack, their vision gets obscured by blood. I didn't know that there was a blood effect when you slapped survivors in Dead by Daylight, to be honest with you. I've paid no attention. 4, 5, and 6 seconds is ridiculous, and also on this, you can't have multiple things scaling like that. That's not how that works. If you have 5 seconds, or 3 seconds, and it's the 60-second cooldown, and then you go from the 3 seconds with the 60-second cooldown to 5 seconds with the 40-second cooldown, it just doesn't work. Because if anything, if you're wanting to scale and make it fair, you're going to have the 3 seconds with the 40-second cooldown and the 5 seconds with the 60-second cooldown to reverse scale that, or to scale that properly, instead of just giving positive, 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 positive. That's why there's checks and balances, the perks and things like that, so it's not just all positive effects, or more positive effects. So I mean, being exhausted is very negative. Anybody that's listening, I would like to see a perk implemented that works only when you're exhausted. It's very unique, and it's an idea that nobody has ever brought up before. I will let you have this one. A perk that only works when you're exhausted. So if I dead hard and enter into an exhaustion status effect, I mean minus vigil and things like that, there comes this specific perk that you can only use when exhausted. Now, keep in mind that the perk itself cannot end exhaustion. You have to remain in exhaustion. The negatives of it, it'd probably be an extension of the exhaustion. But, I don't know. Let's say like the ability to crawl or something like that. The ability to just lay on the ground and crawl. Just kind of a troll-like ability. Here's your example. So if you dead hard, you can then instantaneously, or feign your death. You can go into the dying state while you're in the exhaustion phase and feign your death. While faking your death, all of your things while you're down type of perks activate, like Soul Guard or something stupid like that. It takes 5 seconds to pick yourself up after you're faking your death, so if you dead hard and then fake your death, the killer can still indeed walk up and slap you or pick you up or something like that. Feign death. That's just an example. Please don't post that because that is a terrible idea, but that's just an example of how the exhaustion effect can be used to incorporate something else. Absolutely, positively different. Scourge looks like a beehive with teeth, and then kind of a little broken up, plagued looking body. Possibly wood. That's not bad looking. That's all animation, lore, things like that. First comment, dun dun dun. Sorry to say, but every part of this would be game breaking and horrible. The survivor perk would be insanely game breaking, as well as his power, essentially being able to buy as much time as he wants when paired with other regression perks. A killer's power that only targets Jinn is always a bad idea. killer's power that only targets gens. Oh, he updated his original thing, but he never changed it. He didn't bring it into another forum. That's why. Because originally, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, giving the survivors a gun and all that. Yeah, I did do the original concept of this on stream. I remember now. I didn't know if I did or not, but yeah, I went over this particular concept. I know I did. I just didn't know I did it on stream, but I did. Sweeney Todd, I'm pretty sure I've went over this. I'm pretty sure I've went over most of these, actually. I mean, there is a lot of things to go over, but yeah. Yes, 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 yes. I went over that. Brightburn, I want to say I went over this too, but I don't remember. It's very short. I know that no one under the age of 18 can enter the entity's realm. Oh boy. This is a chapter, so I'm going to assume this Brightburn's a killer. 120% movement speed, 48 meters. It's all the same. I don't know why it says 120 though, but whatever. We're going to go with 4.6 meters per second. 42 meters. No, 32 meters. Terror rate. I see. So you want extra speed, but extra tear radius. That's what you're looking for. Unfortunately, no. Because you're going to start to actually break the limits of the game. 32 meter tear radius, 115% speed. Anti-hero power is near limitless. Holding the power button charges and launches your heat vision, allowing you to instantly down any survivors when the energy strikes them. You Superman? However, you quickly become blinded when doing this, and they slow you down greatly. You can also go into super speed lunge like Hillbilly. When you hit a survivor, they'll be launched back and stunned. Absolutely not. You had a good idea, and then you made it too overpowered. Heat vision, allowing you to instantly down any survivors. That's ridiculous. Unless it's like a quad laser where it's extremely slow and just goes through and obliterates everything. No. So all you're going to do is have people running around with heat vision, just downing survivors instantly. It's not going to be a fun experience for anybody. When you have things like this that instantly down survivor, it just comes to the skill gap. If you're good at using the killer, you're going to get forward pieces every time. You can literally just slug the entire lobby and go about your day. You get blinded. That's the only negative effect for missing this particular thing. They slow you down while you're charging up, and after you use them, you get blinded. Doesn't even say how long. Blindness doesn't stop your movement speed. If you know the direction of which they're going for and you have good headphones, you can still continue chase. Plus, he has a super speed lunge like Hillbilly. What is stopping you from slowing down, shooting laser beam, missing laser beam while you're blinded, going into a sprint towards an object in front of you to make up that time that you just lost? When you become unblinded, boom, you're back at Survivor. actually just no. Just no. If you want to keep your heat vision attack and all of that, and the blindness effect and all of that, you're going to have to make it have a hefty time to charge. And then it's going to have to either inflict damage over time, or it's going to have a super long charge up to where you actually shoot to have an injure on the, to increase an injury start, to inflict an injury state on a survivor, to put a survivor into the injured state. English is hard. Then add-on wise and things like that, you can then add in the insta down and all of that you want to do, but it's going to have to come at a huge negative. Just blinding somebody after they use that doesn't justify an insta down. Being slow while launching this attack doesn't justify it. So, I mean, Huntress is slowed down when using hatchets, and they don't really bother her. The slowdown can easily be countered on things like that. Same with Deathslinger and anybody else that has any type of range attack that has slowdown. If you have the skill set to use it, the slowdown doesn't really matter to you. You're still going to get those hits. Then the super lunge attack, or the super speed lunge, or the run that the hillbilly has. It's going to have a charge up time, and it's going to have to be just as easy / hard to control, unless you're going to go off like Oni or something like that. Also, the Bright Burn chapter effect literally sounds like Invincible. That series that came out. This is what it reminds me of. Maybe like Kal-El or something like that. Who knows? But it reminds me of Invincible. Perks. Alien. Oh, spoilers by the way. Perks. Alien entitlement. Your eternal power gives you with unending arrogance. Those that challenge it are punished. Every time a rescue is done within 50 meters of you, gives you the haste status effect while hindering both survivors. Both effects last for 50 seconds. No. Why would they be decreased by 10% and you given like a 15% speed boost? No. Absolutely not. That means that they can't escape. And 50 meters is essentially the entire map. 64 meters is generally the entire map. So unless it's on the super far opposite corner of the map, it's going to hit every time. They're going to be hindered. You're going to be able to get to them very quickly and immediately down both of them, because the status effects last for a long time. No. I'm not even going to tell you the redo, rebalance, or any of that. Just no. Mechanical disruption. Your powers can destroy less advanced technology with violent ease. After hitting a survivor, any tools lose 80% of their item charge. Franklin's demise. No. Hex Bloodfire. Whenever a generator is damaged, your next hit for 60 seconds instantly puts the survivor into a dying state. No. You could have given them anything. You could have used the deep wound status effect on top of something and made it unique, but instead, instantly into this dying state. Why? Nemesis is a stone cold killer that busts through walls and can take a heck of a lot of damage per Resident Evil games. He has the ability to do essentially all of this except for the laser beam, but I mean, he can carry weapons and things like that, rocket launchers and whatnot. And you see how hard Nerf Nemesis is per the entity's realm. Why should your killer be able to be just this super, just buffed up thing? This is a meme, an absolute meme. It's not to be taken serious, and I mean, besides the comments that you have going along this, because people love the meme and things like that, it's kind of negligible. I'm sorry to say it, but yeah, that's what it is. It's negligible. We have a literal satanic dream demon that even death was scared of. Also, I searched it up. He is nicknamed Brightburn by the press at the end of the movie. Otherwise, it's going to be False Hero, but I thought Brightburn was better. So this is literally out of a movie. And that's where people are talking about. Also, Rip Demogorgon, or Demogorgon, apparently. And I think I'm gonna leave that there. This should be around 140, around 2 hours. Since I got an extra 20 minutes, I am going to look into streaming. So what's going to be on the docket for today? Either sometime soon or later on today, depending on if I fall asleep or not, or when I open an energy drink, is I'm going to start my Splinter Cell runs. I don't know how I'm going to do them, because I mean, I literally could beat every single one of them in one sitting. No problem. Even though I haven't played in a while. I could. It's not going to take too terribly long to complete every single mission in all of these games. I think the one that'll generally take me the longest, well, I was going to say Chaos Theory because I love to finesse that game, but it might actually be Double Agent because you have to go through a lot of BS to try to get the story going and not to do this and that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not looking for any special ending or anything like that. I know how the story goes. I've seen every aspect of it. I'm just going to make the decisions and try to get through the game. Not going to do anything special. Not going to do all the secret special things or the games and all the extra crap that you have to do. I'm just going to send it. Double Agent was fun and unique back in the day, but nowadays it's just kind of it isn't my favorite Splinter Cell out of the bunch, let me just say that. Very unique. Very unique. I kind of wish there was more like it, where you're undercover doing things like that, or you're in your own bunker, or things like that. But I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to end this here. I'm going to look into getting my Twitch things all set up through my encoder, see how well it goes, swap over to that, see if the website that, I gotta look at the message that was sent to me, see if that particular website that allows YouTube and Twitch to stream simultaneously costs anything, or if it's free or whatever. Claimed that it was free, but it seems too good to be true, because I don't want it to take my information either and take over my accounts, even though they're not, like, huge. But I mean, shoot, you know. And go from there. With any luck, I'll be able to start in about half an hour, if not sooner. But, yeah, twitch.tv.com/the_QTASTIC. or just type in QTASTIC. I am one in a few. If I think about it, when I'm editing this video, I'll give you a link to my particular Twitch channel, and you can watch videos there. I might even make just a short video that I can upload to YouTube, making it Insta Premiere or something like that to get double notifications out to let people know I'm going live on Twitch for Splinter Cell. And what I think I'll do is I'll do creation reviews on YouTube, and then I'll switch over to Twitch or the other website and stream dual if I get that set up. Splinter Cell. But other than that, as always, supplement your lifestyle.